Never be discouraged. Never hold back. Give everything you got. Fall forward.
Holding on to your dream and staying focused is really important. If I could come from a council estate in the middle of Stratford-on-Avon and live in 17 houses before I was 16 and win 3 Michelin stars, anybody who wants to come in and copy or use me as inspiration, then, I'm the real deal.
In the beginning, we went to every single label, and every single label shut their door on us. The genius thing that we did was we didn't give up. We didn't say, because these guys, we use that what do they know approach. We didn't give up at that point.
When I went to film school, everybody said, well, you're nuts. What are you going to film school for? Nobody from a film school had ever gotten a job in the film business. Just had never happened. So you were just doomed to be a ticket taker at Disneyland. So they was like, why would you do that? Why don't you take a major that you can actually get a job at? But once I fell in love with it, there was no going back, even though I had absolutely no chance of making it in the film business.
So whatever you feel in your heart and in your gut, you should follow that. Follow that. And then if that changes one day, that's fine too. Then you follow that. But you're the only one who knows. Nobody else.
You can't let anyone tell you what your best is. You know what your best is. And I work at it. You can have whatever you want. It just takes work.
I've never really viewed myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. While the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working.
Nobody works harder than me inside the octagon, outside the octagon. I am a workhorse.
Work your butt off. You never want to fail because you didn't work hard enough. I never wanted to lose a competition or lose an election because I didn't work hard enough. I always believed leaving no stone unturned. Muhammad Ali, one of my great heroes, had a great line in the 70s when he was asked, how many sit-ups do you do? He said, I don't count my sit-ups. I only start counting when it starts hurting. When I feel pain, that's when I start counting, because that's when it really counts. That's what makes you a champion.
To become an entrepreneur is not easy. And a lot of people who try to become entrepreneurs, they fail along the way. But good ones pick themselves up and they try again until they succeed.
If they can do it, I can do it. And that's the mentality. If somebody else can do it, you can do it. And I said to myself, I will do it and I will do it better. That's the mentality.
Don't be afraid to fail. Anything I've ever attempted, I was always willing to fail.
Just the fact that I'm willing to fail is an inspiration. People are so scared to lose that they don't even try. Like, one thing that people can't say is they can't say, I'm not trying. I'm not trying my hardest, I'm not trying to do it the best way that I know how with what little information I get.
Don't give up. You will fail 1,000 times, but then you'll succeed. And most people like to give up after they fail, because that's when it feels like that's when you're supposed to give up. Like, I tried, I failed, time to quit. I totally disagree. Failure really happens when you've decided that you no longer want to pursue that dream. Like, that's the moment of failure. That's the point when you turn the corner from on your way to success to failing.
I've often met people who are terrified, in a straitjacket of their own making, because they'd rather do anything than fail. They don't want to try for fear of failing. Well, that's the rock bottom thing. Rock bottom wasn't fun at all. I'm not going to romanticize rock bottom, but it was liberating. What did I have to lose?
I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb.
The definition of a life well lived For me, a life well lived is a life that is not about victories or losses, but about a continuous process of growth, a continuous process of evolution, a continuous process of adventure, curiosity, bewilderment, and awe. One in which you don't go quietly into that good night at the end of the race, but instead you rage and rage and rage against the dying of the light.
Define life according to your measures of success, but it really is things, I believe, like expressing your power, doing work you find meaningful regardless of what the world thinks, finding people around you who love you, enjoying nature, serving people, being a good human being.
I finally realized there's something inside of us more than our limits.
Today, all of us can have an impact. The difference between having an impact and not having impact is a decision. It's not resources, it's not money, it's all there, it's a decision. So I want to talk a little bit about mindset today, about thinking, about how we think. Because ultimately it's the most critical thing. What distinguishes us as humans from every other animal, what distinguishes one human from another is how we think. And I want to encourage you to think in what I call a bold and abundant mindset. Because how you think matters, and it changes everything in your business, in your life, everything.
We have control of our minute, our hour, our day, our week, our month, and our year. Stop running around being on the receiving end of whatever people want to dump on you. And when you're hanging out with negative, dark, and dysfunctional people, you cannot expect yourself to go to sleep at night and rest. You cannot expect yourself to feel good about your day when you're including negative and dysfunctional people in your day.
At the end of the day, we are a bunch of people on a little planet in a huge galaxy, and before you know it, we're going to be a bunch of dust. And the great billionaires get buried next to the taxi drivers and the pizza makers, and we are not that big a deal. And I think all that really matters is while we are alive, do your best to use every day as a vehicle to birth your talents into the world. And secondly, if you do that, you're going to serve the world and raise the world with you. And that all just comes from inner power. I mean, that's just deriving your power from a place within, and that's where you get grace, and that's where you get great creativity. That's where you get boundless energy, because it's not about addicted to what the world thinks of you.
Because when you're trying to differentiate, when you're trying to do something different, there's going to be that gut moment, that gut sense. Is this right? Is this not right? If you're not having doubt, you're not pushing the boundaries far enough.
We try so hard in our lives to fit in. We try to fit into certain groups, certain frats, certain sororities, among certain friends. Yet the people we idolize are the ones that stand out. But when you're prepared, there is no fear. There is no fear of failure, okay? Because even if you've walked out of something and you feel like you failed at it, your preparation is so strong that you're gonna take that failure and turn it into the outcome you desire. And most people stop at failure. We've all failed at things. It's the most powerful tool you can use, but it all depends on how you use it. It's that drive inside of you, okay? It's what we talk about, the dark side. The dark side is filled with failure, but it's the fuel that burns you like something that's never burned inside you before.
I gave everything that I had. I poured my heart, my blood, my sweat, my tears to this game, man.
There's so many individuals out there that are so talented in different things that never accomplish anything. Okay, the world is filled with talented people. You know a lot of them yourselves, okay, and they never accomplish anything. With talent has to come preparation, has to come action, has to come development of being able to take those talents, take those skills, continue to develop them, continue to sharpen them physically, continue to sharpen them mentally, because at some point your physical talent is going to diminish.
You go like this, but then you hit this plateau. And most people hit that plateau, they go, wrong job, wrong relationship, wrong business, because it's not instantly fulfilling them. But the people that go, I'm gonna fight through and go deep, I'm gonna find a way to break through, I'm gonna find a way to learn and know more about this any human alive so that I can help as many human beings as possible, and it won't be bullshit, it's because I've lived it. There is a power in mastery. And how many people do you know are really committed to mastery today? Most people dabble in a million things, they master nothing, and they wonder why they're unfulfilled. Because they're running for the sugar, the next thing that feels good, instead of getting past what doesn't feel good and getting to where you own something. We live in a Facebook world where people fake their life, put new filters, make it look different than it really is, tell stories that, are totally full of it to make themselves look good. Because we live in this kind of false world where significance is more important than love.
I think when you find your lowest point in your life, I think you're kind of open to a lot of things to try to change it and to try to get back on the right path.
Phelps now 3 for 3 here in Beijing, his second world record after he started it off in the 400 IM with one.
I had to change my approach a little bit on how I approach the game. I wasn't that good in the first 2 games here in this building. I watched a lot of film, detailed it out, changed my blueprint.
Once again, the Cavaliers are NBA champions.
They put together some spectacular games after being down 3-1.
I came with the 170, faced the bigger man, overcame my adversity. Now you want this trilogy? It's on my terms.
In the end, I had to invest everything, and I was borrowing money from friends to pay the rent. Yeah, I sure hope it was worth it. Sure hope it was worth it.
Are you the best footballer in the world right now?
I think so, yes. In my mind, I'm always the best. I don't care what the people are thinking, what they say. In my mind, not just this year, but always, I'm always the best. I'm always going to say that.
I knew what was going to happen. I knew I was going to get here. They didn't. There's a lot of stressful years, a lot of tough times. But I proved them wrong. I proved myself right.
You need to bet on your strengths and don't give a about what you suck at. If you want this, if you want bling bling, if you want to buy the jets, if you want to do work.
When I look around, I always learn something, and that is to be always yourself and to express yourself, to have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate him.
I feel I still have room to improve. I still set goals for myself to strive for. I'm never complacent with what I've achieved. Even though it's been very successful for me, I still feel I have a lot to prove.
Michael shakes the finger.
Ben Graham in his low teens looked around and he looked at the people he admired. And he said, I want to be admired, so why don't I just behave like them? And he found there was nothing impossible about behaving like them.
If you're doing anything interesting in the world, you're going to have critics. The only way, if you absolutely can't tolerate critics, then don't do anything new or interesting. I would just say, go stand on a street corner and watch in a crowded urban area and watch all the people walk by and think about what they're thinking about. I bet you none of those people are thinking about you.
After years of repetitive work, you will often need to dig hard to find your passions, redefine your dreams, and revive hobbies that you let atrophy to near extinction.
You think someone's gonna come to you and give you a highlighted version, script on how to live your life? And if that was the case, would you even go that way? How boring is that? It's the unknown about to be that gets me up in the morning. It's always a challenge. And as soon as a challenge is lost, guys, your will is dead. There's no reason to get up in the morning.
There are a million reasons why not, but there's one great reason why.
Because before it was luck, it was a belief. And every day with no one watching at 5 in the morning by myself, I trained it because I believed in it. Then I mastered it. No, and I remastered it in hopes that one day my trained ability collided with an opportunity to show it off. That's what luck is. That's what success is. Start to finish, a blueprint that every single module inside of it you create, you own. Nothing subjective in there. It's all you.
You don't just live in life, you change it, you shape it, you make your mark upon it.
Make a little money, make a little love, get a little help from the Lord above. Make a little money,
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Beautiful. Make a little money, make a little love, get a little help from the Lord above. Make a little money, make a little love, get a little help.
If you want to live extraordinary, you must do extraordinary. But you must demand it. If you wish it, you must demand it of yourself.
We all have problems. What I'm trying to tell you is this though, don't be consumed with them. Problems are a part of life, but guess what? They're not life.
Inside of every single problem that might be causing you to worry and creating stress for you is a gorgeous opportunity to build an even better business or build an even better life or install a better belief.
So the secret to real happiness is progress. Progress equals happiness, and if we can make progress on a regular basis, we feel alive. So if you want to make real progress, then you really got to look at your life in a different way. You got to say, I got to take control of this process and not just hope it's going to work out.
You got to keep picking yourself up and reaching for it.
You can get through this. You will get through this. You must get through it. You are going to get through this.
You need to get outside your comfort zone. It's not about taking risks, it's about getting outside your comfort zone.
When did you define yourself? I mean, really, how many years ago did you come up with what you could and couldn't do in your life? How many years ago? So often in our lives, we've adapted to be a certain way so that we don't fail or so that people will like us or respect us, but it's not necessarily who we are.
And it doesn't matter how you get knocked down in life, because that's gonna happen. All that matters is that you gotta get up.
Can't turn back the clock, right? The only thing you can do is learn from it, and hopefully you'll never make the mistake again.
And for anybody who's on the downside of advantage and relying purely on courage, it's possible. It's possible.
Think of the 3 biggest discouragers in your life. They're not your biggest discouragers. You are.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride.
But if your ambition is to fulfill your heart's calling, you'll always be cared for. You'll always be taken care of. Your needs, not your wants, your needs will always be met when you're following your heart's calling.
The only option at that point is welfare or the street.
We were poor. We lived in the projects. We didn't even own a car.
I had a prostitution ring on my street corner. There were drug addicts in my alleyway.
Working class kid, growing up on the south side of Chicago, growing up with doubts and fears just like all of you
all. I was raised in a very domestic violence home, and my mom is a very high yellow woman, so bruises show up on her very quickly.
When I was 14 years old, I became pregnant.
I was probably as poor as you can go without being homeless in the UK.
I had no prospects, I had no agent, I had no money.
I didn't come from that environment that just sets me up for success.
I was poor because I didn't have anything. I had no money, I had no things, we had no TV, we had no refrigerator, we had nothing as kids. But I was rich because I had a dream. I had a dream of becoming the greatest bodybuilder, and I had a dream to use bodybuilding as a means to get into films. But I had no idea that it would go as far as it did.
If I took you to where I grew up, the odds on me getting from there to here is not something you would have bet on. Don't allow anybody, friends, family, even your parents, to tell you you're aiming too high. Because if you look at my story, it's not a Hollywood movie, it's real, it's authentic, and it happened to me. I'm not smarter than anyone else, and it can happen to you.
I always say if I can do it, anyone can do it. And the reason that I always say that, because I didn't grow up with things being handed to me. I had to work hard, I had to dedicate myself, and I had to be determined, and I was.
When you see transition really start to happen, when you really want to transition into something, master it. There's no limits. You know, don't let the world ever put limits on you. You can do anything you want to do. But make sure if you have a vision, make sure the vision is written.
People often want to call me the exception, like, oh my God, you're the exception. No, I'm not the exception. I'm an average, ordinary woman who chose every day to make one more extraordinary decision.
I have not allowed my disability to stop me doing most things. I feel a sense of achievement that I have managed to make these contributions, despite having ALS.
I feel like anybody can do anything they set their mind to. It depends on how bad you want it, and I wanted to do it. You know, at this stage of my life, I don't feel like there's too much that I can't do. I don't mean to sound cocky or nothing, but if I really want to do it, I don't give up that easy.
You have a good chance at making some of your wildest dreams come true. Most people don't even try, sadly. Most people try and then stop, give up. Very few people try and try and try, or do and do and do and do and never give up.
You have to realize that there's always work to do, and you want to be the hardest working person in whatever you do, and you put yourself in position to be successful. And you have to have a passion about what you do. And basketball was mine, and that's what's carried me to this point.
Conscience shouts, here's what you should do, while your intuition whispers, here's what you could do. Listen to that voice that tells you what you could do. Nothing will define your character more than that.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough, and the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane.
Dedication, hard work. I'm a one-man army. One-man army. The world can go against me. I'm still coming on top. I got God on my side.
Out of night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever God there may be for my unconquerable soul. fell clutch of circumstance, I have not cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of fate, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the shadow of the shade. Yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me, unafraid. Matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charges the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
History is replete with the stories of strong-minded, resolutely willed individuals who, steadfastly holding to their inner convictions, have been able to inspire their fellow man and in the face of tremendous and determined opposition have literally created out of nothing great businesses, huge empires, and new worlds.